Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, December 15th. And today, we're going to be talking about the bed. See, I thought when there was water in the bed a couple nights ago, I was like, it's leaking again. I don't think it's leaking. Furthermore, in the same respect that I don't think the bed is leaking currently, I don't think the last mattress that gave me a nightmare for a couple of weeks trying to deal with the leak, trying to find where the leak was. It's a phantom leak. I can't find it before spending money to buy a new mattress, spending basically a whole day trying to empty out the old mattress in order to fill up the new one, and throwing out the old one. I don't think the old one was leaking either. And I may be going just a little bit mad about it, but a little insane's normal. Now, I do have one thing to check to find out first. To explain things before running my little water-based test. When I would wake up in the night and it would seem like it had leaked. The times that I woke up in the night from it were very rare. Because it would be like where I'm laying, there was enough moisture had gathered in that spot to soak through the mattress pad and the sheet to get it where I could feel, oh, this is wet. And if I pulled it off, there would just be a light layer of moisture across the entire top. Probably the entire top. I wasn't sure, but at least this front end, which is why I was generally checking the front end. Now, I could never really get to the back without taking everything apart, and in the middle of the night, I didn't really want to do that. And my assumption was that somehow, and I just took it for granted, that this material here, whatever this coating on the bottom of this mattress pad, resisted moisture going through it, but didn't defeat it, so when moisture puddled up, it went through. But that somehow, wherever it leaked, the moisture came through, and because I was on the bed, it moved around, so moisture moved around the mattress to get to various spots, so it was just kind of lightly wet. And wood gravity, where I lay is the lowest point, so it would slowly go down there. Let's see if water is in one spot, does it resist or did it just sink through? Let's see. Because I'm not so sure anymore. Because why not? Oh, water! Oh, that's a decent amount of leak. What happens when it's under here? Water just came out. I'm laying on the bed. Oh no, I'm already feeling wet. It came right through, right there. But what if it's trying to push it around? How much does it push around? Almost none. Longer? Does it go through? Or does it just soak in more? It doesn't spread. Moisture doesn't spread around underneath this thing. I don't think there's ever been a leak. I went through so much hell because of the leak in the bed, and I don't think there's ever been a leak. I'm laying on a wet puddle now. So, that being the case, you're probably wondering then, Adam, what on earth do you think was happening? Why was there moisture there if it wasn't leaking? Well, I blame this. It's a humidifier. It puts water into the air. So, the waterbed is cold to the touch. The plastic. It is cold. I do not have a working heater underneath it. I have 2 heaters under it. I believe both of them do not work. I just kind of keep them under it because I've always had them under it. But I don't think they function. I don't think they've functioned for years. I don't really think they functioned when I moved into this condo. So, me and say that. I don't think those work. So the waterbed stays cold, and I am fine with that. The mattress pad is enough cushion that it's not like frigid or anything, and I like it being cool. Same as I use a fan to sleep. I like the room and environment around me to be cool. I sleep better that way. So, the air is moist. And therefore it kind of is going to adjust everything in the room. Everything is in contact with that, and the moisture just sort of distributes. So something like fabric, it's probably going to manage to somewhat penetrate. And so if the fabric has a degree of moisture in it, and it's against something that is cold, and there are temperature changes, such as my body heat being on the bed, particularly with the environment outside, I'm sure has something to do with it. I think in the right conditions, that moisture soaks from the room into the blankets and mattress bed. I mean, I definitely notice when using the humidifier, sometimes the blankets are just, they have a different texture. There is a dampness to them. It's minor, and I don't think much of it, but it exists, and it is something I have observed. So I think that it soaks into there, and as it hits the cool mattress pad, or the cool mattress, the big bag of water, that it's condensation. And condensation forms on the bed. And then because I'm laying at a certain spot, I think that condensation, which would probably evenly form about the entire length of the center part of this, you see, it's really thin on the stretchy part on the outside, and then this is the thick part that manages, I'm sure, to absorb stuff. And so that's probably why it's only ever in the center and nowhere at all where it's actually dripping down on the sides. Because it's only the center that absorbs it and deposits it and has condensation. And then where I am sleeping, it puddles because gravity feeds it down. Interesting theory. Do I have more evidence or thoughts behind it? You bet I do. One thing that I never really, that I don't think I ever mentioned on here, is that in November, in the middle of while I was dealing with this, I actually ended up with a new humidifier. It's not mine, it's my mom's. Mine broke. Mine actually spewed out smoke. If it hadn't happened while I was sitting working, I would have captured it on video and been awesome. I'm gonna talk about that. But it happened while I was working, so I just had to quickly unplug the thing that was pouring smoke out, and I was not willing to plug it back in and make it do it again in order to show it off, so I just never brought it up. But leading up to that point, the humidifier was acting odd. Sometimes it would pump out normal amount of humidity. Great. Other times it would run for 24 hours and wouldn't empty the container of water into the room. Which might explain why some nights there was moisture building up, and some nights not enough moisture got into the room to make the mattress pad wet enough to do that. Now, why has it never done this in years past? Well, this past year, last Christmas, I got new pillows and a new mattress pad. And I got rid of all the old stuff. Now, I believe the old mattress pad was equally likely to cause this issue. However, with the old mattress pad, I also had a quilt. A really old, semi-tattered quilt that my mom had had that I put underneath it, in between the mattress and the mattress pad. Just an extra layer. While dealing with the issue over several weeks, I actually didn't end up waking up very often by water having pooled up and making the bed wet. That happened the first night, and then it happened a couple days ago. But it didn't generally happen on a daily basis. Usually I didn't find out if it had leaked until I lifted up the entire mattress pad and looked underneath it. Was there moisture in the morning? Because, I believe, well, what I did is I put a towel underneath there. And the towel was enough that it kept things, as moisture would start to gather to make things wet, it just sort of collected on the towel from all the edges. So instead of getting to one specific point underneath a shoulder or whatever, it would gather around the entire towel, soak in there, and it would never actually puddle. I think the quilt that I always had under there did that. I think throughout the time that I'd had the waterbed before, I'd always had that quilt there. My mother said, oh, extra layer to keep things from getting too cool. So I did it. But I think that's what kept it from building up moisture anytime before. And because I don't have an extra layer underneath this thing now when it starts to puddle, it just puddles. So I need to get a blanket or quilt, or heck, maybe just leave a towel under there. But I don't think it ever leaked. I don't think the old bed ever leaked. I think I was being driven mad by it, and it was condensation. And it's condensation that I never had before because I had a different situation, but when I changed the bedding, I didn't want to leave the same gross quilt under there, so I got rid of it. I didn't replace it because I didn't feel like I needed it. Well, now I learned. I think it's always happened. I think moisture builds up in the room, soaks into the mattress pad, deposits itself on the mattress. When it gathers up near me, that's how I found out about it, and I looked underneath. I think it's probably always done it. It's perfectly normal. I can look up things online, and they talk about soft-sided waterbeds, which obviously mine is a hard-sided, but they mention specifically on those, specifically if you do not have a heater, there are times of year as climate changes where there is going to be condensation building up. I think it's condensation. I think the reason I could never find the hole, I think the reason that I found it like, oh, I'm looking for it, let's tape off areas. It still seems to be building up on top of the areas that I've taped off. Why? Well, clearly the moisture is coming out somewhere and spreading around. No, it's because the tape was thin, it was still cool, so it still condensated on top of the tape, or on top of the plastic bags, or whatever it was. It didn't matter, it was still the temperature difference, so it still condensated on top of it. I couldn't find the hole, because there was no hole. On one hand, I'm very glad to have come to this realization. I'll put something underneath the mattress pad after obviously having to throw it through the dryer because I just spread water on the bed underneath it. I'm glad that I basically have the solution now. It's There was no problem, or the problem wasn't a leak. The water wasn't coming from inside of the bed, it was coming from the room. So I'm glad the problem's solved, but man, did I go through hell. And basically, when I realized it, the other night when I woke up, I mean, I definitely prayed a lot about being able to solve it, because when I woke up in the middle of the night with the problem happening again, I'm like, it's happening again. My nightmare is returning, and so I really just petitioned to God for that. I feel the wisdom absolutely comes from Him. But in part, it was also, how could this happen? How could I have had this strange, minuscule hole that doesn't always leak, that doesn't even make sense to me? I'm just justifying excuses for how it's happening, because it is happening. And then happen again on another mattress so soon? That makes no sense. Well, if it doesn't make sense, maybe that's because it's not so. It's still actually quite early in the evening. I'm a probably edit or stuff and have a boring evening. But today is just sitting and talking for probably longer than anyone else cares about, but it's been driving me mad, so I had to get it off my chest and just talk about it. And that's what this is for. That's why I do this, right? I definitely wasted some money trying to solve the problem and wasted a lot of time. Feel a bit like an idiot from it, but I guess it's finally found the answer, and I found out there wasn't a hole in the old one, so I wasn't crazy not being able to find it. Thank you for joining me. Join me as my journey continues. Bye.